I'm recording. All right. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Art of Learning Self-Love. I'm Darla Williams, and today I am honored and pleased to share with you Dr. Kymn. She has an extraordinary story that she needs to share with the world. And she has asked me to be able to express and share some information from the 9/11, and today being the 20-year mark of that devastating day that changed the world at large. I feel so honored to open this space to give her this place to speak today. So without any ado, I'm going to go ahead and just open the floor to Dr. Kymn and let her go ahead and share her extraordinary story. Thank you.
Thank you, Darla. Thank you. Thank you all for gathering here, those of you in person, those of you who will watch the recording. It's an honor, but it's also, I feel this a responsibility to share my story that in some ways is not dramatic. And yet I've, frankly, and you might find this amazing, but I didn't discover until yesterday that I have a story to share. And you might think, well, how in the world could that be? And I don't even know how it could be. But I had a conversation yesterday with Mark Santos and with a dear friend of mine. And it all came together in that conversation. So before we go any further, I'd just like to offer a blessing for our time together.
Please do.
To you who gives us life and love, we say thank you. To you who gives us this breath, this breath, our every breath, we say thank you. To you who loves all, heals all, honors all, and calls all, we say thank you. And for calling us here to be together, we fully, deeply say thank you. And so it is. I've spent the morning listening to the 9/11 memorial services, reflecting on what started off as a really ordinary day. At the time, I was in a hotel in southern New Jersey with a group of colleagues from a nuclear power plant, the second largest nuclear power plant in the United States. And one of our colleagues came into the meeting room where we were and said, a plane has gone into the World Trade Center. And we kind of looked at each other, puzzled. Could someone mute their mic, please? That would be helpful. Thank you so much. kind of looked at each other puzzled, thinking like many people that it was a small plane that had an air traffic control or some other kind of accident and went into the World Trade Center. And then not too long later, another colleague came into the meeting room and said, a second plane just hit the World Trade Center. And we all rushed from the meeting room to the lobby of the hotel where there was a television. And we stood there in silence, in horror, really unable to take it all in, but we were doing our best. And then in not too short a time, one of my very dearest friends who I had worked with for 3 years and who was one of the senior leaders at the plant said, I've got to go. I've got to go. And I was his leadership coach. I was a leadership coach to the whole organization of 1,800 people. And I love those people with my whole heart. And so when Devin Price said, I gotta go, I said, well, if you're going, I'm going. And so in our individual vehicles, we drove about 8 miles to where the nuclear plant was on the Delaware River, across from Wilmington, Delaware, where our current president is from. And we realized very quickly that we could be next. We heard on the news that they were looking for high impact targets. And what could be more high impact than a nuclear power plant, which if a plane went into the plant and the plant was not able to withstand the damage, there could be a nuclear accident that would obliterate millions and millions and millions of people's lives, if not the entire East Coast and maybe beyond, I'm not sure. And what occurred to me yesterday that I had never acknowledged was that we went into what could have been the fire. It never occurred to me that my actions of going to be with my guys who were running the nuclear reactor, and frankly, fortunately, we're in the process of shutting it down as this occurred. We were willing to be there to help protect public safety. And while obviously, thank God, we were not next, I had this deep appreciation yesterday for the first time of the power of the human spirit to walk into the fire, to walk into the challenge, to walk into danger, to walk into the unknown. And I wanted to share this not because I'm some hero, but because the human spirit is the hero. And we have all kinds of examples from that day, and obviously from days before then and days since then, of the power of the human spirit to rise in the face of any circumstance, to deliver in the face of any circumstance, to save us in the face of any circumstance. And of course, I'm relieved I didn't die that day. And yet I was willing to. And while that may, I don't know how that might sound to you, but it gave me great strength yesterday when I realized that. When I realized, like so many people, including, I'm sure, circumstances in your own life, that you've been willing to die had you needed to. It gave me a real strength for knowing that whatever is ahead in my life, whatever is ahead for this community, for whatever is ahead for all of us, we can in fact rise to the occasion. And just like I said, I went to the plant because I love those people that I worked with. I love you as deeply, even though we've never met physically. You live in my heart. I take you with me wherever I go. And I am always, always, always intending the highest and best for you. Now, there's another piece to this story, which is rather remarkable, I would say. A couple years later, no, let me not skip this part. Yesterday, I also got in touch with that I can't reach out to those people at the nuclear plant, that my dear friend Devin Price is not available to me, nor many of the other people that I worked with. You know, when you hold public safety in your hands, as nuclear reactor operators do, it takes a certain kind of person to be able to hold that responsibility. And these people did, 98% of them were men. And my love for them was because, for many reasons, but one in particular was that they were willing to hold life, the life of millions and millions of people in their hands. Because if they had not done their jobs well, we could all not be here. And not just on that day, but every day. So why aren't they available to me? Well, 2 years later, I was fired from my position there. And why I was fired was because I spoke out publicly about safety issues. That we had had some reasons, some excuses, I'm not sure how to say it, but for horrible reasons, profits before safety. There was a time when we were running the reactor when it wasn't safe. And I reflected back that we had made it through 9/11, and what would happen now 2 years later if there was a nuclear accident. And so I went to my boss, the president, spoke out about the safety issues. And frankly, he said, "That's a bunch of bullshit. Get out of my office." And I found myself removed from my position. And when one becomes a whistleblower, a very public whistleblower, I went to the media, I went to Washington, D.C. I made the safety issues loud and clear until they were addressed by the government. When one becomes a whistleblower, people have a choice. Do they stand with the whistleblower, knowing the truth of the issues? Or do they stand on the side of the company and do their best to protect the company against the allegations of the whistleblower? And suddenly I find myself not just losing a job that I loved with a very high salary, not just being barred from an industry that I loved, but losing scores and scores and scores and scores of people that I loved. And so it really hit me yesterday that even though my friends didn't die that day, when I became a whistleblower, they unfortunately died to me. And all but one has refused to have any contact with me. So yesterday I got back in touch with that loss and how oftentimes when we are courageous, when we do the right thing, when we follow the tugging of our soul, we lose. We don't lose our souls rise to the occasion, and yet sometimes we pay a very high price. So shortly after I was fired, not shortly, it was a long journey. I went into some really dark places. I doubted myself. I was like, how could I speak out about these issues and have nobody stand with me? What's wrong with me? And on and on. And I was in a pretty dark depression for quite a while. And I ended up joining the faculty of Penn State University. And I began to work on a book called Leaders Worth Following, People Who Move the World, because I wanted to honor the people who, in the face of great odds, rose to the occasion in whatever area of their life, and have us learn from those people. And I was fortunate to interview some real notables. The woman who helped bring peace in Northern Ireland and won the Nobel Peace Prize. Rabbi Harold Kushner, who wrote When Bad Things Happen to Good People. And his child died at the age of 13. A former US Attorney General who lost his wife early in his career. And one of the people I decided I wanted to interview was a man by the name of Bernard Kerik. Now, why Bernard Kerik? Bernard Kerik was the police commissioner in New York City 20 years ago on 9/11. And I knew that it was his leadership that helped New York City be resilient in the face of the terrorist attacks. I knew it was his leadership that helped over 1 million people evacuate the city. That 55,000 cops were under his command. And I knew that he had a lot to say about leadership. And so I reached out to him, and fortunately he said yes. And in 2004, I went to interview Bernard Kerik in an office building in Times Square in New York City. And it was a pretty heady experience. I felt like I was going to see an American hero. And we spent an hour, and yes, he told me his 9/11 story and what had preceded him in his life, tragedies. His mother had abandoned him when he was just a small child and was murdered by her pimp or boyfriend or whatever he was when he was 9. And other struggles that he had had in his life. And I began to see that these people all had tragedies that I was interviewing for this book and rose to the occasion. And then after that incredible experience, things happened at Penn State and the book got shelved for the time being, and Bernard Kerik and I lost contact. And then a few years later, Bernard Kerik lands in prison for what I'll call political reasons, for ethics violations that would have ordinarily simply resulted in fines. He got a 4-year prison sentence. And I was shocked at what our country did to this American hero. Not that he was perfect by any means, but I knew enough to know that this was beyond the pale, and nobody else had gone to prison for tax violations and such. And what had happened in between, in case some of you might remember, was he was nominated to be head of Homeland Security. And he withdrew his name because he had a nanny that he didn't pay taxes on. Anyway, without getting into all the politics, I decided it was my job to care for this man while he was in prison. That I considered it my way of paying back an American hero for all those lives he and those in his command helped save. And so I reached out to his attorney and said, I interviewed Bernard Kerik a number of years ago. Could I possibly come and visit him in prison? He was in a minimum security place. I frankly had never been to a prison. I didn't know what I was in for. And that was on a Friday night. I sent that message, and by Monday morning, I had a call from Bernard Kerik's former chief of staff, who said Mr. Kerik would be honored to have you come and visit him. And so I made arrangements, had to go through the application process, have a background check, all that stuff. And about 3 weeks later, I drove 8 hours to see Bernard Kerik. And my real fear was that I was going to walk in and burst into tears. And I was thinking that wouldn't be too cold to walk in and burst into tears. But fortunately, that's not what happened. I cried before the end of the visit. And I visited Bernard Kerik 23 times while he was in prison. I picked his brain about everything about leadership. I picked his brain about everything that happened that day. I picked his brain about how he recovered, how he helped the city recovered. And he was oh so generous in telling me these stories. And so, it was indeed an honor. And I felt like I had really contributed back to an American hero. And it actually got to the point where I set him up through the prison mail system to be a guest professor in my leadership classes. So he could actually tell my students. It couldn't do it video. They didn't have that capability, but he would write these long lectures with the information. And hundreds of students that I had during that time were able to benefit by hearing the story of this American hero. And we had the 10th anniversary of 9/11 during that time. And I know, like me, you have cared deeply for people that others shunned. You have cared deeply for people that society said, eh. And that you have cared deeply and gone out of your way to support people who, to some, didn't deserve to be supported. I'm still in touch with Bernard Kerik these days. I'll be seeing him in October. And who knows what the next chapter of our relationship will hold. Why I asked Darla for this time to share my story is really to honor each of you, each of us, as life's heroes. people who are willing to not just listen to their minds, their egos, their voices that say, "Oh, I can't make a difference. I'm not good enough. Something's wrong with me. I need more healing before I do X." To honor each of you for rising to the occasion and to say, on behalf of life itself, I thank you. I honor you. Your life indeed makes a difference, and the world needs you. So thank you for standing and delivering, and always, no matter what, rising to the occasion. Thank you so much.
Wow, what an extraordinary story, hun. And thank you for bringing this to the floor and honoring so many in your story as well, and taking the steps out to be there for no matter what the cost was, including yourself. You are an extraordinary woman with great depths of love. And I see it every time I talk to you. And I am so grateful to call you friend.
Mm.
And I appreciate you choosing to come in and share your story here, because I think the world needs to know that the hero starts within.
Yes.
And that is just extraordinary. I was so touched and moved today by your story, and have some things I want to talk to you about later that
Okay.
that I need to speak with you about. Um, but I also want to invite everybody, because in this space, what I do is I have a fountain healing process that I like to take people through. And just so that anybody who is new to the call today that doesn't know what that really means and what that's about, is I actually take you through a process where you allow yourself to be open and allow for the fountain of light and waters to come through your body, down through your mind, all the way through, down into the ground, where it actually washes away the vibrational story that is no longer serving you
Mm.
in your life, and allowing you to put it where it belongs, into the ground where it can lay and rest, where you can bring back up the light and bring back in through, allow it to go back into the heavenlies, and then come back in and restore and heal you to what you were intended to be from the foundations of the earth. And it is my honor that if there is anything today that you resonated, that you felt through this story, that was attached to the 9/11 circumstances that are out there in regards to your life and the loss, the pain, the sufferings that happened, including just the events and the traumatic experience of knowing that this was shattering the world as we knew it back in 2001 on that day. Anything that is residual within you, you are allowed to take into that fountain and allow to be washed, and allow yourself to be restored to what is rightfully yours. So I want you to just go ahead and get yourself comfortable. I want you to close your eyes. So anything that you can bring up into your mind that comes up from your heart, from any area of your life that you know that has a story wrapped around this situation and that circumstance, or anything that rose up in your mind that came along, if you felt less than, not enough, if you felt that you were not able or capable, if you felt that the story itself left you broken and devastated because of the pain and the loss, anything that came along with that, I want you right now to bring that up and think about that. Now I want you to go ahead and imagine yourself standing in a garden. how beautiful that garden is, lush and green. I want you to go ahead and see a fountain before you. This fountain is massive. I want you to imagine that there are steps and that you are mentally imagining yourself being able to walk into that fountain. I want you to step up and into the cooling, cascading effects of that water. As those flowing down over the top of that fountain, you can see that light cascading down. I want you to go ahead and just step into that flow and open up your crown chakra. Open up your mind. Allow yourself to be healed. The healing restoration is rightfully yours. Go ahead and allow that to come into the top of your mind, down into your jaw, into your throat, into the vibrational stories of which you have spoken for all of these years. Let it wash those stories away that no longer have to be there to hinder you, but allow you to be healed and restored. Down into the shoulders, down your arms, into your fingertips, back up and into your heart center. Allow the waters to continue just to wash away anything that keeps you bound up. Down into the solar plex, the sacral, and into your root. Down through your thighs and into your calves and into your feet. Now I want you to push this down into Mother Earth, to Gaia, as far away from you as possible. And allow this to take and be placed into the core of the earth, that it can be as far away from you as possible. That it no longer has to torment, hurt, cause you depression, sadness, sickness, pain, suffering, or anything making you feel less than or not enough. And I want you to just pull back up the light and bring the light, leaving that story behind. And allow that light to come back up into your feet and into your calves, into your thighs, into the root, up into the solar plex, into your heart, into your throat, into your mind, and back up into the heavenlies, where you can be restored. And what is rightfully deposited into who you are from the very being of the foundations of the earth, what was intended from you from the start, can now be restored to you. That those circumstances and situations are no longer going to have to affect, but can be the reason that you have come to a space of true healing that you accepted. Let's go ahead and bring that light back into the mind, washing and cleansing every space, bringing healing, restoration down into the jaw, down into your throat. So when you speak forth, that you speak life more abundant, down into the shoulders, down your arms, into your fingertips, and up into your heart, so that your heart can smile. And find true rest and true peace from these situations. Down into the solar plex, into the sacral, into the root of who you are, your very core, your very being, down into the thighs, into your calves, and into your feet. Go ahead and bring that right back up and allow that warmth, healing, cleansing, flowing light in waters to just continue to wash through and cleanse and heal you in every way. Go ahead and bring that back up into your root, into your solar plex, your sacral, into your solar plex, into your heart, up into your throat, up into your mind, and back into the heavenlies, and be thankful for today that you have received true restoration healing.
Mhm.
When you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Would anybody like to share their experience from today's story, from Dr. Kymn, or from the fountain?
Donna, I was cognizant of there's a fountain at the World Trade Center, where the World Trade Centers used to be, that people are gathering around today as they have the memorial service and reading the names of every single person who died that day. And so I just intend that all the people who are suffering, that we take this healing not just for ourselves, but for all the people around the world who are suffering, who don't have a community to lean on as we do, who may not even know that healing is possible, that they were with us, are with us in the healing power of the fountain. So thank you so much for taking all of us there, humanity as well.
That's an honor. Let us go ahead and pause for just a moment in memory.
May we all continue the journey from the me to the we, to the us, to the one. May we never forget that we are indeed one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Did anybody have any questions for Dr. Kim?
I'm simply very grateful for this session, Darla. Thank you for making it happen, you and Dr. Love. And so grateful for everyone, so grateful for the community, for all the support we have. Thank you, everyone. Just sending my love and light to everyone. And I love the fact, the reflection of Dr. Kim to extend our prayer to the whole world, to the people who need it, to the people who don't have a voice. You know, so many countries are victims of war, so many children are victims of war, and we are their voice. So it's very important that we are, that we think as one and not only as ourselves. We are all connected to source and we are all one. So it's very important that we accept each other in spite of all our differences, definitely. And I'm simply sending my gratitude for and my love and light to all.
Well, to have unity and for everybody to come together and actually connect as the one, the collective together, it comes and it starts with love. Love is the key to make it all happen.
And love is inside our heart. We shouldn't look for it. We have everything we need inside of us. We simply need to keep that precious connection to source, because it's also through source that we get everything. It's and staying in the present, manifesting out of the quantum present quantum field.
Mhm.
Love and gratitude.
Beautifully said, Muna. Thank you.
Anybody else? What an extraordinary day. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for awakening um, us and reminding us of the hero inside of all of us. Thank you. You sharing your story. It's really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. My intention in sharing my story is that you fall more and more and more in love with you. More and more and more in love with life. Yes, I'm certainly grateful for your love and respect of me. And yet I so want to reflect that back to you. That the more we love, respect, and honor ourselves, the more we are, in fact, available for whatever life wants from us. And that we are called in the face of all of this to joy, to joy, to deep, deep joy. That even in the face of the 20th anniversary and the lives that were lost, we're called to joy. We're called to fun. We're called to happiness. We're called to play. We're just called to live life to the fullest. Just like that little kitty cat is doing. Soak it all in. So in no way do we need to be somber. In no way do we need to hold our joy back. That doesn't serve anyone. That doesn't serve anyone. So, in some ways I want to say, okay, let's go. Let's release. Let's, everyone, let's. Such a joy to be with you today.
I want to follow up on that real quick, and I will get with you, Kasha, in just a second. Let me just finish this real fast because it really goes with when we are really looking at our life and we're living it by the way that we should be. We have our divine feminine and we have our divine masculine. And between those two govern who we are. Then we have our inner child who lives the experience. Go live life out loud already. Have a great time doing it. You deserve it. Go ahead, Kasha.
I just wanted to ask Aaron if he would like to add a few of his beautiful words to this beautiful interview.
Kym shared a very fascinating story that we all can resonate with. And she said two words that kind of brings to mind that I wrote down. Hero is human spirit. Maybe that's three words. Hero is human spirit. Everyone on this planet has a spirit. Everyone is a hero. And we forget about it. And what Kym demonstrated in her story through every moment of it is that there was a hero waiting to be heard. And that's what she did with this gentleman. She gave him an opportunity to share, even though he was in prison, even though she got to interview him and all these things. But she gave him a massive gift. And to this day, he's thankful for it. But she allowed his spirit as a hero to come out. The same way Dr. Kym brings her spirit out in her mastermind. Same when Dara brings her spirit out. Same with Kasha and everyone else. Because we all have the elements and the ingredients of love, joy, courageous, and so on. But when we all mash it together to make a beautiful pancake, that's when the word hero comes out and the word superhero comes, because that's what we're here to do, is to provide that gushing worth of knowledge and experience and allow that spirit to dance, because that's what the superhero is. And I've been searching for that answer all week, and thank you, Kim, for that.
Thank you, Aaron.
And I would
Thank
like to add the last thought of mine, which is love is medicine, and that self-love is medicine for everything.
Mm.
And self-love is your path. Self-love is the light in the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel, which is always the beginning of the moment when we can do and share more love. Self-love is support for yourself, for everybody. Self-love is truly a medicine for all what we are looking in our love, in our life. From self-love, we start the real journey. Thank you.
Yes.
As we say in Ireland, roll that up in your pipe and smoke it.
Roll that up in your pipe and smoke it.
Smoke
That
it.
is
Yeah.
so funny.
Okay, I need a translation of it. Can you say it slowly and explain it to me, please?
He's blushing. I've never
That's
seen Aaron
so
blush.
funny.
I'm usually not on camera. That's what it means, Darla, is roll it up like a cigar or a cigarette and smoke it. It's just a saying of, there you go. There's your there. There you go.
Gotcha.
Well, listen, Darla, he said it so fast, and I even didn't catch one word. Okay.
He was embarrassed to even say it, and he did it anyways. And then you put him on the spot. That is great.
Listen,
Sorry, Aaron, that is
despite
great.
of everything, despite of what the day we have today, with despite of the story we've heard, a little of laugh
Yes.
and love together at the end of this will start our day to roll the right direction.
Exactly. It really will. And everyone, just be the lighthouse in your world and just go and shine your light everywhere.
I'd like to end with a reading from my book.
Go ahead.
How about that? This message from the Soul of America Speaks is called Sacred. Dear one, people are sacred. You are, all are. Each and every person is a sacred being. No matter their lot in life, no matter their birthplace, no matter what they have done or not done, people are sacred. Life is sacred. And embracing this sacredness is in itself sacred. Life radically alters when this seeps into our very bones and sources our actions. Imagine our nation, every nation, and the world if everyone lived this truth. Then what looks impossible becomes possible. A world that works for everyone is then within reach. A country that works for everyone is then possible. And dear one, Yes, you, dear one. The sacred begins with you. You and me are being called to live this truth in every corner of our life. People are sacred, including you. How will you answer this call? How will you answer this call? How will you, yes, you, answer this call?
Let us all go forth with that call, with total love, perfect peace, and ultimate harmony.
Much love, everyone.
Much love. Thank you
love.
so much, Dr. Kim. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
Much love and light, everyone. So